here today with Clare Dea, who is a performance artist, a creative mentor, and an entrepreneur. It's so wonderful to have you here.
Thank you. I just think the initiative of you and Alexander doing this for the community and for everyone that gets to watch these videos.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you so much. And you came in and you felt so juicy and alive and inspired, but you've had a huge last couple of weeks that you were just sharing about. Do you feel to recap some of?
Yeah, it's been a really huge couple of weeks. As I said, my dad had a heart attack, so that sort of threw a spanner in the works just before my holiday. But I got to have 10 amazing days in Cairns, and it was the first time I took a holiday where I knew absolutely no one. There was no agenda, there was no workshop, there was no performance. It was just 10 days to really look after me. And I was inspired to go there and consider writing my second book. But I didn't have a pressure on myself that this big download had to come. However, over the days of just basking in the sun, this one word just kept sort of chatting in my ear, and it was impact. And I went and researched the word impact. I looked up the dictionary definition, and there was two meanings in the dictionary. One was impact when two things collide. But the second definition with impact was the impact that you can make to others. And that's what I'm really, really, really inspired about, is how much impact can one person make in the world. And then when two or three or even more people collaborate, how much impact can they have? And that's what I get so inspired with you guys. With this, is you're working together to make an impact in the world. So I just kept having this word impact coming down to me, and I looked up the dictionary definition. I was doing lots of journaling, asking myself some really potent questions. And then I was reading a book on my Kindle, and the word amplify came up in the text. And I thought to myself, amplify your impact. And I'm like, that's what I do. I help people to amplify their impact by really connecting to who they are, giving them or inviting them to find the courage within themselves so they can share their story and their message with the world so that they can have an impact. So I've just been sort of journaling heaps about this word impact. And the other thing that came to me, which is actually really vulnerable for me to share, has been my journey with, I guess, my addiction to fame and for significance and attention. And that's the first time I've voiced that. So I'm just going to allow that to. Whew.
Thank you for sharing.
And one of my most amazing moments that I do talk about in my branding and marketing workshop and several speaking events I do, is that one of the best moments in my life was when, for our ballet concert, all the other girls got told to stand in two lines and cross their wrists together and hold their hands like this. And then I got to run and jump onto their arms and got, lifted up and got to fly in the air. And for about 8 seconds, I got to be like the star of the whole ballet school concert when I was 8. And I just remember that feeling. And I also was a real fan of Young Talent Time, which was what Kylie Minogue and Danny Minogue and Tina Arena did when they were really young. And I saw that and I was like, I want to be that. And so I've had this big relationship with wanting to be seen and heard in a powerful way. And because of my personal story of being born with Poland syndrome and being really ashamed of my body, so for people out there that don't know what Poland syndrome is that I was born with my left-hand side of my body smaller than my right-hand side. My left hip's rotated in, but the main manifestation is I was born without a left pec. And because I was born without a left pec, my left breast never developed. And that made me really ashamed of who I was, because growing up as a dancer, it was all about being perfect and beautiful and symmetrical and how you looked in the mirror. And the older I got, going through puberty, I also put on a bit of weight, but the main thing was the fact that this one juicy right breast popped out and the other side was just flat as a pancake. And I just really felt like a freak. And so even though I felt this huge desire and pull to be seen and heard and be expressed, I also had this huge voice in my head saying, you've got to keep this a secret. You cannot allow anyone to know that you're this one boob freak. And so it was this full-on dance for the first 28 years of my life between this part of me that wanted to be famous and a celebrity and also wanted to help so many people, because I've been teaching the art since I was 16. I had a dance school for 7 years before I went into acting and opening up Meisner Melbourne. And so I also love transforming people's lives and helping people, but it also got to a point that I couldn't actually help any more people because I was stuck with my own shame of who I truly am. So when I broke out of that, it definitely helped me to amplify my impact, because I could give myself permission to be seen and heard as I am. But then it got to this part recently where I've realized that I'm stuck again. And I realized that I can't actually amplify my impact anymore because I haven't actually faced my truth just with the word famous, star, wanting attention and validation and all of those things, and actually seeing the beauty of it and not feeling like I have to try and reach out for it, that actually that it actually can be really quite peaceful. And like actually, I think a lot of people think of the words fame and celebrity and being known as this sort of, I guess, big out there thing. But actually, I know when I'm making the biggest impact and people are magnetized towards me and want my message is when I'm feeling in alignment, really grounded, peaceful, and I don't actually have any need to be putting all of my attention out over there and having to be seen. I'm just really still in who and loving to who I am. And so I'm really dancing in the moment between that, watch me, love me, see me, and wow, I'm just enough as I am right here, right now. And then my journey of Meisner and learning to be an actor has actually been about finding it within, because a lot of people think that actors are trying to be something other than themselves, that they're trying to be a character, but that's not what acting's about. It's actually stripping off the social masks and actually connecting to your authentic self and know that you can create any character from within. So you want to know everything about you. So, I mean, that's always been my passion, is teaching people to embrace all of who they are, their light and their dark, and for art to be able to actually express that, whether it's in scripts or monologues or songs. So that's sort of what's juicing me up and getting me alive at the moment, is seeing that I actually faced another creative block, which is me judging fame and being known and having people look up to me, but then also trying to reach out for it as well. And I think that when you actually eliminate the shame and the guilt for something that you desire, you can actually then just bring it in. You don't have to try.
Reminds me of something I heard Elizabeth Gilbert say. She's just all I've been listening to at the moment, so she comes up. But about, she used the numbers as a scale, I guess, of how true you are to yourself. And say 0 is you're really in alignment with yourself and you're what you were speaking about. You're just centered, you're here, you're enough, and that's what people are drawn to you naturally. You don't have to try, but more than that, you're just being true to yourself. And then 10 could be, for her, it was Eat, Pray, Love, and like that being really, really famous, and that was, she scaled as 10. So it's like, even though it was really big success, it brought her away from her center and away from herself. And like also failure can bring you away from yourself. Like there's -10 of, you know, like really big tragedies and illnesses or losses or breakups and that kind of thing. But they both equally bring you away from yourself, or they have that. So I wonder like that, how is this fame, how can it be, you know, still being zero, still being at true self?
Yeah, it's really taking fame off the pedestal. And so not just fame, but success. And whatever success looks like for anyone, achieving their goal, I guess. So if your goal is to have this big impact, this book you're writing, for example, with Elizabeth Gilbert, it actually doesn't make you any more special or any more different than the person you were before you had that.
And so this message is becoming more clear for you of wanting to help people amplify their impact. And is that how? By staying close to their whole self, their light and their shadow?
Yeah, it's always been about me teaching people how to embrace all of who they are, and to, as what we've just talked about, really taking everything off the pedestal. Because I really do believe what DeMartini teaches about that there's always an equal amount of challenge and support in your life. So it's the same thing. Sometimes you will be in the minuses and sometimes you will be in the positives, but can you actually just bring yourself back to zero? And that's what I really try to do with my park challenge. So every day I would go to the park, whether it was for 5 minutes or for 10 minutes or for an hour, and try and visit as many different parks as possible and just take that time to get myself to zero and just be with the trees, whether it was singing to the trees, speaking to the trees, or just sitting. And I definitely felt that actually those were the moments where my self-worth felt the most. I was like, right here, right now, I'm one with everything. And I don't need some recognition for some goal. And okay, my dad might have had a heart attack, but things will be okay. Like you just have that knowing when you're at that 0 point.
So what else do you do to bring yourself back to zero?
I think singing is huge. Just even if it's just practicing my singing scales or singing along, even on the radio in the car, just moments where it isn't about this is going towards something I'm trying to achieve, because I am very goal orientated. It's just really being in the bliss of what I love in the moment, because singing and dance and expression is definitely when I'm the happiest. If I'm doing that on a regular basis, the rest of my life just falls into place. I always know that good men find me when I'm doing really like practices in dance and singing, but then I watch myself that if I better do my dance and singing practice to attract a man, that stops the flow. Yeah, it needs to be just because this is your daily habit. I really love to sing. I really love to dance. It's not about how well I'm singing or how well I'm dancing, because I do come from a career in it where you're being judged all the time in auditions. It is really hard to just turn that off and just be dancing and singing for the love of it, not to be recognised or adored or,
Just because what it gives you to do those practices. Another question that comes to me is, because I'm exploring courage for a workshop I'm about to run, is what is requiring courage of you in your life right now?
Being okay with if I didn't have any more success, of what success looks like to me from my little girl's point of view. That if I did decide to get married, have kids, and not at all work anymore, and live on the beach and just not put myself out there in any way anymore with writing, singing, dancing, that would be okay. And not saying that then I don't do those things, but more be okay, because I think that I stop myself from attracting in the life partner because I feel like I'm scared that I can't have the life partner, the marriage, the kids, as well as the big vision that my child has for me as to succeed and be loved and adored, which, all of our children all associate love and connection with different things. The most courageous thing I could do is to not put myself out there, because I've now actually got to the point that I've become so courageous in putting myself out there that that's now not my edge. My edge is actually the opposite, is actually to not put myself out there.
Yeah.
Because I spent so long repressing that I've just now done the last few years of just, whew, and now it's like I've gone from being so small to so big. It's exactly finding that zero again.
So I feel like you've answered this in many different ways, but just to ask it because it's our signature, what makes you come alive?
Well, self-pleasuring, and that isn't just the form of masturbation. I think doing things for the self. As I said, I've just been away for 10 days and I just spent lots of time doing things for me, whether it was self-pleasuring or sitting by the sun or singing or dancing. And that's how my creative downloads come. I always know that if I take time for myself to just sit and be with the things that turn me on, then God, creative inspiration, talks to me, and very clearly. Like, I really feel like when I'm in flow that I have a very big voice just channel through me, and it's very clear what my next step is. And I always know that if that voice is not big and loud, I'm out of alignment, and that I need to be doing more practices to get myself back into flow, and not be doing them to get back into flow, just do them. And I think that's actually what really has been making me come alive in the last few months, even to the last few years, is creating systems and structures in my life so that I'm always on a daily, basis doing those things I love, and that it gets to the point that I'm just doing them because I love them. Yeah, so creating, really clear systems and structures in my life so I can thrive. Because I really feel like for that feminine creative energy to thrive, you need to have the masculine systems and structures in place so that you can fully express yourself. So I think I go through the dance of in love with all these feminine processes, and then with all these masculine processes, and then finding a way to integrate them together.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's what's juicing me up.
Yum. Love it. And because you've been talking about impact and message, is there any last thing that you would like to share about your message that you want people seeing this to hear?
Well, I believe that the way that you can have the biggest impact in the world is to be true to yourself, is to speak your truth without any shame. Find people that are safe and supportive for you to express these shames and these guilts, knowing that every single human being is not perfect. There is not any perfect human being out there. And then endeavour to live a life as many hours of the day doing what you love, because the more universal hours you put into anything, then you manifest more of it. And so I hear a lot of people say, for the next year, I'm just going to do this hard slog of a job so that I can then go and do the things I love in a year's time. And I'm like, well, the universe doesn't actually work like that. If you actually just have a real slog of a year, trust me, the next year will just be another slog of a year. So even if you're working at a job that isn't your true passion, but it's what you need to make money, I suggest even just start with daily habits of just 5-10 minutes a day doing what you love, and then finding ways that you can bring that into your job, even if it's not the job that you love. And I feel like that's what I can share that's how I can have my biggest impact, is by giving people the tools to actually do what they love on a daily basis, so they don't have to be thinking about it as, in a year's time when I finish this job, I can start doing what I love. How can you actually make it work now?
That's such a tremendous gift, Claire. Thank you so much for coming and joining us. It's been, a pleasure as always. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
Strength, courage, and wisdom.